Welcome back. Countdown to the first Republican presidential primary debate in Milwaukee.
Just 24 days until debate night, a new nationwide Marquette Law School poll out this past week shows former President Donald Trump maintaining his lead among Republican primary voters and independents who lean Republican. Trump with 46% in the new nationwide survey, followed by Florida Governor Ron DeSantis at 22%.
At this point, 7 candidates appear to have met the criteria in both fundraising and polling to qualify for the August 23rd debate in Milwaukee. With that, let's bring in Democratic Congressman Mark Pocan from Wisconsin, a member of the House Appropriations Committee. Congressman, like always, good to see you.
Same here. Thanks for having me.
Let's start there. New hypothetical matchups in this Marquette poll between President Biden and either a Trump or DeSantis campaign show a close race in 2024. Curious, as you look ahead, what are Democrats' biggest challenge in a key state like Wisconsin?
I think our biggest challenge is what we've been trying to do is talk about all the bills we passed in the first 2 years of the Biden administration. The Inflation Reduction Act, which is lowering costs of healthcare and energy for people across the state. The infrastructure bill, 4 presidents, Democratic and Republican, talked about it. Joe Biden got it done. But we have to explain what that means to Wisconsin because it's a lot of family supporting jobs. We also passed the CHIPS and Science Act, which is going to also help invest in making things here in the United States again. I mean, there's a lot of good things to talk about, but we've got to get that word out.
Another indictment of former President Donald Trump. It appears more likely it would be a second federal indictment, his third criminal indictment this year alone. What impact do you see that having as we get closer to 2024?
Yeah, I was surprised in that most recent Marquette poll to see DeSantis dropping in Wisconsin. I think because of people like Robin Vos and others who've been critical of Donald Trump, you saw DeSantis have higher numbers than he had in most states. But in this last poll, he certainly dropped as well. So it seems more inevitable that Donald Trump could be the Republican nominee.
Meantime, some unexpected drama this past week involving Hunter Biden's plea deal on tax and gun charges. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy saying this past week investigations in the House among Republicans could lead to an impeachment inquiry of the president. How concerned are you about the president's potential involvement in all of this?
Yeah, so I think, the Hunter Biden issue is largely going to happen with the IRS and other folks that are looking at it. And that's where it should happen. You got to remember, in the House, I believe Marjorie Taylor Greene might have the first week, or Lauren Boebert, or one of them, introduced measures to impeach the president. It doesn't matter what it was. They want to try to impeach Joe Biden. And again, this Congress has taken us to a new level of ridiculousness. So I just don't think it's a good idea to do something just for the sake of trying to impeach someone for electoral gain, when, the focus should be where it is on Hunter Biden. And if he did something wrong, he should pay the price. And I think we all agree on that.
Congressman, I want to ask you about your pretty impassionate testimony before members of the Appropriations Committee. You issued a pretty strong rebuke after Republicans removed some LGBTQ plus earmarks from the transportation funding. Have you seen, or is there any fallout from what you said?
Well, I think this week is really telling. In the Senate, they just passed all 12 appropriation bills in a almost completely bipartisan way, which is the way appropriations committees always worked. I was fortunate. I'd tell people back home, I serve on the Appropriations Committee. I don't got to come to Washington just to spit on my colleagues like you do on Judiciary or Oversight Government Forum. It's just you go to work to fight. I want to go to work to get something done. Unfortunately, the Appropriations Committee in the House has taken the complete opposite tact of the Senate. And not just that we're not doing the job of the Appropriations Committee, they're just cutting everything to 22 levels of funding almost across the board. But then they're throwing in all these social culture war riders from everything from anti-choice to going after diversity, equity, inclusion provisions, taking away funding for the Latino Museum, going after pride flags in the LGBTQ plus community. It's really just to appease a part of their base, because that's all they ever campaign to, rather than doing the work of what we normally do.
And to that, even among some disagreement among conservatives, are we headed toward a government shutdown this fall?
I think the Republicans already this week, we've had 2 Republicans say a shutdown wouldn't be so bad. No, it would be awful. And the Republicans are clearly setting us up. If they can't even pass the bills, like we're way behind on the appropriations process in the House. If they can't even pass the bills they're putting out with their members, it's going to very likely be a shutdown because they're okay with that. And no one should accept that as another day in Washington.
Congressman Mark Pocan from Washington, D.C., member of the Appropriations Committee. Congressman, like always, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it, Matt.
Up next, the State Fair, just days away. We are one-on-one with the CEO, her unique perspective and what she's doing to ensure big crowds.